Okay, good morning, everyone. I am Rani, and on behalf of GARB Slow Fashion, I want to welcome you to Fashion Revolution Bali. This event is organized in the Global Fashion Revolution Week, which is held annually every April, is commemorating the Rana Plaza tragedy from 2013. It is a time of fashion debates, sustainability discussions, and panel events promoting responsible fashion and educating the public. So GARB Slow Fashion Bali is a new initiative in Ubud, in Bali, which promotes the slow fashion movement for the makers as well as for the consumers. We have a physical space across the Zero Waste Bali store in Ubud, but we have to postpone the activity in that physical space at the moment due to coronavirus. And we were originally want to have an offline event launching of GARB Slow Fashion Bali in that space, but now we are moving it to the virtual one by creating this series of virtual events that talking about fashion, ethical fashion, and sustainability. The beauty of natural dye, which is this event now, will have Threads of Life, Tarum Natural Dye, and Cinta Bumi Artisans, three main players in natural dye in Bali that promotes an alternative for ethical fashion. They are passionate about making beautiful things, but equally important is to be sustainable and with minimum damages to the environment. How do they do it? What are the difficult choices they have made in their journey to stay true to their values? Let's join them and be inspired. In addition, Fashion Revolution Bali is a pay what you want event. Please pay if you can through bit.ly Fashion Bali donation, which is on the it's written on the YouTube, our YouTube videos. All proceeds will be shared equally between Fashion Revolution Global and Kopernik. Kopernik is a well-known Bali-based NGO that working on COVID-19 emergency response project around Bali in Indonesia. So now let's start by introducing our speakers here. We start from William Ingram from Threads of Bali. Please, William.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us here today. Thank you, Sophie and Rani of GARB Slow Fashion Bali for organizing and introducing this event and inviting us to participate in it. Thank you. Threads of Life, as I won't go into too much detail because that's going to be the first little video clip I'm going to share in my part. But we have been working since 1998 with traditional weaving communities all across Indonesia to support the continued making of traditional indigenous textiles in their traditional way using natural dyes. And in support of that, we have our own natural dye studio. And part of our response to changes in the world economy, even leading up to COVID, but COVID's definitely pushed this forward, is moving that into being a production studio. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Thank you.
Thank you, William. And next is Indra from Tarum Natural Dye. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. It's really excited to meet you all here. Okay, for the first time, I want to say thank you to Mbak Rani and Sophie for inviting us here and for the opportunity also. It's really good to see you, all the expert of the natural dye and slow fashion in Bali here. I want to introduce myself first. My name is Sigede Indrayatna, but you can call me Indra. I'm here as a part of Tarum Natural Dye team. My position here is a production manager who manage and maintain all the production in our factory. So now on this event, I will trying to explain what is Tarum and then what we do here with natural dyeing, and also how we survive during this condition. Yeah, maybe that's all for now. Thank you, Rani.
Thank you, Indra. And last one is the most prettiest one. Novi will can please introduce yourself.
Hi, Rani. Hi, everyone. Thank you, first of all, to Sophie and Rani from GARB Slow Fashion for inviting us, Cinta Bumi Artisans, to join the Fashion Revolution Bali today. This is actually our first, how do you say, like online event with so many people joining. And today, I'll be sharing about why Cinta Bumi Artisans exist and the way we do things in our studio, where basically we are a small business and focusing on artisanal craftsmanship. So it started back in 2013 when I was still working as a tourism practitioner. I went to Central Sulawesi and had 2 years cultural research there. And that's, I think, like the root or the background of how Cinta Bumi Artisans was born. And also I will share some of the things that we are currently doing during this challenging yet transformative time through videos, and also there's a slide to share some visual diaries from us. So I think that's all.
Thank you, Novi. So thank you all for the introduction. And now that you know each other now, I mean, since yesterday, of course, and you have worked so hard to prepare all the materials for today. Maybe I can ask, what do you expect from each other? You know, now that you are in this event together and to listen to everyone's presentation. Maybe Novi can share what do you expect from the others' presentation?
Yeah. So honestly, it's not like the yesterday was not like the first time we knew each other. I met Pak Williams already during their open studio at Threads of Life last February, and we kind of actually indirectly work together through Home Dyer's Kit, which is what we're doing right now, and we have the Simple Ongkos Plan More Than sourced from Threads of Life or the Bali Foundation. And with Tarum, I've never met Indra, but I think I've met Andika before, and we actually joined the same pop-up market in Jakarta 3 years ago. So what I expected through this event is actually to learn more from all of the experts, and also to just basically brainstorm about how the natural dyes future, not only globally but also in Bali itself, and then how we can actually connect with each other and do something together instead of like sporadically individually. So I think that's all.
Thank you, Novi. And Indra, maybe I can ask. I'm just going to ask the young ones first, because maybe they want to know more. So, Indra, what do you expect from from the others on this event?
Yeah, of course. It's the idea. It's this event is really good. We can know each other, and then of course we learning from the Threads of Life. I know Pak William already exists from '98. We heard so much of you, but I didn't meet in person. But maybe after after this event we can meet it. And also from Mbak Novi, maybe before meet with Andika, yeah. But I really want to know what you do in Cinta Bumi Artisan, and learn how you maintain all the artisan there. Yeah, it's all about it. And then after that, maybe we can have a collaboration of three of us, maybe in the end. Yeah.
Thank you, Indra. How about you, William? Can you share a bit what you expect from the others?
I see both Novi and Indra and what they're doing as innovators in this field here in Bali. And they've got great ideas, and they're leading this work in new directions. And so there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to share. I think we can multiply the impact of each other's work by sharing with each other. And so this is the beginning of that. And so thank you for bringing us together.
Yes, hopefully that through this event, and we can, like what you said, will multiply the effect of the natural dye into bigger than now. And also, I like the what Novi said about what taking it to the next level. Natural dye. To not just what we are doing now, but also doing something even more than that. Anyway, so without further ado, let's start the presentation. For the first one will be Threads of Life by William Ingram. You may start, William.
Well, thank you. I have my video on, yes. So I have two short videos to share, and then a PowerPoint, and then we'll get to the question and answer. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Indigenous textiles are the skin of tradition. In their ritual use and symbolism, they express identity, represent cosmology, and transmit culture. And 90% of this wisdom is being lost.
The women we work with say, the world tells us our traditions are backwards and primitive and that we need to let them go to develop economically. But why should we have to choose? And how do we maintain our culture and identity and make a living while doing so? Threads of Life exists to work with these weavers towards answers to this question.
Traditional textiles are not just cloth. They articulate a constant remembering and reimagining of tradition and identity. And in this, they embody values and history, social connections, and ancestral spirituality for a sacred and living world.
These arts are still strongest in the poorest, most remote regions, where there are few alternative income opportunities. Remoteness also means that there is little access to market. But when women work together in small work groups and cooperatives, they can bridge this isolation.
At Threads of Life, we learn from the communities we work with. We are students of their worldview and make sure our marketing supports rather than harms their culture. We have documented over 250 species of plant used in traditional dye processes. This diversity binds textile tradition to sustainable use of forests and land. And so, by facilitating the local organic farming and harvesting of natural dyes, we build livelihoods based on a responsible relationship with the environment.
But in the end, our work is about connecting people. We bring weavers together so they can help each other maintain their culture and identity and work out how to make a living in a rapidly changing world that is often hostile to their beliefs and practices. And we connect these Indigenous people to the world so that their voices are heard, so that their values are appreciated, and so that you can support their stewardship of our shared heritage.
Okay, let's walk through the dye garden first. So here we've got specimens of about 80 different dye plants that we've collected from the communities that we work with. And they've all been scientifically identified, that's a very common one, and divided by color into different sections. This is like the best yellow dye plant, but it's the most difficult to cultivate. It takes about 100 years to get a tree worth harvesting. Now we're adding some additional space here. And come into the space. Here are our friends from Kuban who've been working on figuring out how to do better indigo work on their batik. And our indigo vats are all around the edge of the room here. It's the one we're using today. It's ready to use. Over the other side is where we're doing the Chiriopstein, the mangrove bark. We keep it separate, obviously, so that we don't get splashed in one color or the other. Back there is where we do our yellow work with Nangka. And here we are experimenting or teaching how to use the Chiriops dye with the batik. So there's a quick virtual tour. So over here, this is some yarn we have been mordanting with the candlenut oil that I talked about. This is all going to be dyed red. So this gives you an idea of the kind of scale we can work on when we're doing dyeing on yarn. So hope you get to come here someday yourself soon. Bye. So those were, can you hear me now? Hear my voice? Okay. Let's get this guy now. Those were a couple of clips that give you some background to what we are doing, what this dye studio is about, and I want to go into a little more detail about that now. So natural dyes. We're talking about natural dyes here today. Why are they so interesting? Why are people attracted to them? I think it's because they're not like a single chemical. A chemical dye is a fixed, specific tone from a single chemical. Natural dyes are never that straightforward. There's a complexity of chemistry that you get from the dye plant. That chemistry varies from plant to plant, from place to place that it's grown, and season to season, and by the handmade way that people work with them. So it's this variation and this sort of life within the dye that makes it so interesting to work with and to live with. So there's this aesthetic dimension. But perhaps what's drawn most of us here at the moment in terms of the fashion revolution is the ethical dimension. So we are talking about, with natural dyes, the interest goes quite deep. You can choose where your ethical interest is in. So we can talk about it from the harvesting of the dye plants. How responsibly is that done? Has it been done destructively? Then there's dye processes. Natural dyes can be processed using natural processes, i.e. you use other plant sources to develop your dyes, or you use synthetic chemistry to fulfill your dye processes. Not all natural dyes are safe. Some toxic dyes.
Hi, William.
It creates this whole space in which we use work.
Hi, William. Sorry to interrupt you. Could you stop your screen sharing? Then we can see your whole face. Thank you.
I can't hear what you're saying, Sophie. Again?
Can you stop your screen sharing? Yes, thank you. That's perfect.
I think there's a bit of disconnection with William. Let's wait for a minute if he can connect again. Okay, William, you may continue. Thank you.
It seems the technology is not playing along here. That's okay, guys. We can.
Maybe wait. I think he's trying to connect again. Ah, yeah, there he is now.
I think I can do some entertainment here. I'm really good in that while we are waiting for William to start. So as somebody who is living here for 4 years in Bali, I actually find it very interesting that the three of you, I think Novi, you said that you know William, right? And you have met him in person. You guys have met each other in person, but you are not really collaborating with each other. Is that is that why is that? Is there a specific explanation for that?
I think it happens everywhere actually, not only in Bali, but from our perspectives, it's just that when it's time, it's time. Like for example, in the past like 4 or 5 weeks, we just launched our home dyers kit, which is a DIY project for people to try dyeing their own fabrics at home. And one of the supply is the plant mordant called Simpla leaf, which we source from Threads of Life. So we've been connected for like maybe a few months, and then just started to collaborate recently.
Yeah, I think William is connecting now. Hi, William.
I just kicked me off. What did you? I was asked to stop doing my my PowerPoint. What was the point? What do you want me to do?
No, it's just that when you stop the video, the one that show on the Zoom meeting is your YouTube dashboard. That's all why we ask you to stop sharing, and then you can continue with your slide afterwards. So you can continue now. You can continue with your slides and your explanation.
Yeah, or maybe it's actually better. Just I don't think that our viewers really mind. I mean, if you can start this screen sharing again just from your PowerPoint, because then we have it from the start. Because we were watching, we were only hearing your voice, but we were not able to watch the deck.
Can you see this now?
Yes, it says natural dyes, ethical dimensions.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. So you can start over. The videos are actually really interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, I think, I mean, the previous slides. Okay, so the previous slide was that. So here we talked about, I think essentially what I want to say about this ethical dimension is it's about education. so many people involved in the business, designers, buyers, customers, don't really understand what working with natural dyes actually means, all the way back to where it's grown. So, and don't understand that there are different ways it can be processed. So there's an educational process about getting people to understand what this means in its entirety, what a holistic engagement with natural dyes actually means. For us, what we have learned, all of our core values come from the communities we've been working with over the past 20 years. Our study of natural dyes has been about, initially, it was because when we said we were going to buy cloth with natural dyes, and we were willing to pay more for it, we had to know what we were buying, because people were passing off synthetic dye work as natural dye. So then we had to learn how they were made, we had to learn how to go out into a garden and understand whether what the plants that we've had were enough to make the textiles that they were showing us. So this was really about applied research. Our study of natural dyes allowed us to learn take what we were doing in the field, bring it back to our small studio and test these dyes with controlled variation in the recipes and see what was happening. For example, the picture that is here, which is a group of weavers who are doing a traditional dance in Malacca in Timor. This red dye requires multiple applications of the bark of the root of the morinda tree, mangkudu. And they were doing a huge amount of use of resources to get this color. And it's because they were misusing or they were underusing the mordant, the plant that Novi has talked about, the Simplocos, which we'll get to in a minute. By getting their recipe right and increasing the amount of Simplocos they were using and connecting them to a sustainable source of that, we were able to halve the amount of dyes that they were using. This reduces the stress on the environment, increases the profitability of their work. The yellow dye in the video, it says, and here's the yellow dye I talked about. Well, it's a bit back to front. Here we are. This maclura is a widely used yellow dye in Indonesia. It's part of the traditional dye recipe for batiks of Central Java. And it's effectively been commercially extinct throughout much of its range for use of this process. It's the bit in the middle, you see in the top right, left-hand corner, this yellow heartwood is what produces the dye, and it takes the tree a long time to grow to that. In Timor, in the 60s and 70s, water buffalo were replaced by cattle. And where the buffalo were just allowed to roam free, they never went far from a water source, but the cattle go everywhere. This picture shows you the damage to the topsoil. There's been in some places 4 or 5 meters of soil have been. On this particular plant, you find in areas where it hasn't been logged out that you have mature large plants and tiny young ones. And anything growing any bigger than that gets stepped on by the cattle or eaten. Through our research, through working with ethnobotanists who think in broader terms about this, we've come up with a scheme whereby you plant the young plants of this maclura in fence lines. It's called the cockspur thorn because it has huge thorns. And so planting it in fences, it grows in the fence, it keeps the cattle in place, it has a short-term use for the farmers, and it has a long-term use for their great-great-grandchildren as a dye plant. So this is the kind of thinking that we have to bring to our work. And so bringing all of this back into our work and in our studio, really color fastness is one of the key things. And so our palette of dyes comes from the colors that have been time tested by all these traditional communities that we've been working with and all the variations of the dye processes that we've come across. So we don't have a huge palette. It's indigos and browns and yellows. We can do some black with some mud dyeing. But at all stages, it's about transparency and accountability. I was talking recently with someone in a big garment manufacturer in the US about opportunities for this kind of business. And they said this transparency and accountability is the core thing that's coming through. That their business, it's Nordstrom, which is a sort of mid-scale producer, department store producer in the US. They're saying they are going towards this sustainability, transparency, and accountability at whatever the cost, because that's where the market is going. And that's our market opportunity together, is to get into that, to support that journey. I want to talk a little bit about each of the dyes that we're using. So the indigo, we use mostly Strobilanthes clusia, which is, I showed you in that little video clip, which this woman in Flores is carrying here. It's actually not indigenous to Indonesia. It was given to us from the Singapore Botanical Garden in about 2000. And everywhere you find it in Indonesia now comes from those four. It creates a beautiful. It's non, so it never goes to, and it existed in forest income from woodland systems without cutting down the trees. And you're not planting a dye plant that is being planted in agricultural land, and so you're not affecting food security. In order to reduce our indigo vats, when you create an indigo vat, there's a process of chemical reduction that is required. One way to do it, the commercial way to do it, is usually to use sodium dithionite, which is a really harsh chemical, and what's left over in your wastewater is not good for the water systems. Sugar works, palm sugars, as long as you're not using sucrose, and these can be tapped from palm. This is Lontar palm in Bali. In Bali, we also get it from coconut. It's the bark, certified concession in Papua. I work on this concession, producing pulp for the paper industry. So if you're wondering what Forest Stewardship Council is, if you've ever seen inside a book, there's this check mark that's in the shape of a tree and it says sustainable sources, renewable sources. That's the certification. And it produces this incredible red that you will see in some of these future slides. Fixatives, mordant means a fixative. And so for the cherryops and for the red dye, from some red dye, from some other colors, we want a source of our in the working gardens in London to get the analysis. We found that the fallen leaves, these beautiful yellow leaves, have the highest aluminium content. And so by creating women's groups to go out during the deciduous period for the tree, which is like from August to November, you just pick the leaves and so plant mostly it's how we were going to clean our work.
William?
And wash it off. We couldn't
Hi, William.
find any
We cannot hear you so well.
fees. That's the internet connection, isn't it?
Yes, and I think I have the feeling it's your internet connection. Although on YouTube it's also quite slow. Maybe what I think should try is don't know, should we help? Shall we see if it works better for somebody else first? Because it's a bit of shame. Because I mean, what you're saying is, what you're telling is really super interesting, right? So I don't want you to continue talking if the quality is not good. So maybe we can. What do you think, William?
If no one's hearing me, there's no point in me continuing. Indeed.
No.
So shall I stop sharing?
And it's actually super. Yeah, it's super interesting. Maybe we should actually see if somebody else wants to start, and then we can try. You know, maybe later again, or not again, but maybe you can restart where you have ended. Would that be okay? William? Do you guys think, is it William's connection, or what do you guys think it is?
From my side, it's just like, you know, very stop in the middle several times. So maybe it's his connection. But how about the others, Novi and Indra? Do you also receiving William very badly or not?
Yeah, we can hear William from here.
You can hear him, but can you see the video?
Yeah, we
or
can see it,
the
but
PowerPoint?
the PowerPoint I can see it, but the video is not running well.
And the voice maybe not really.
Yeah, that's all the phone.
So you know, like what you said, Sophie. So maybe we can move. You know, William can continue his presentation maybe at the end, or maybe we just continue with the second speaker first at the moment. I think that will be okay. So maybe okay. Well, this is technicalities issue. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi connection at William's place will be coming back okay soon. So maybe this time, I think it's let's. I will give this opportunity for Tarum, natural dye, to share his your presentation.
Is William still there?
I think he's there, but he stopped the video.
Okay. I think it's nice if he could actually.
Yeah, that's right.
If he can hear us, right? I mean, I don't know what the, if he just stopped the video or whether he cannot, whether he has dropped out.
He probably.
Let's make sure.
Okay, so let's make sure with William first. Okay, I'll.
So this morning we had a great panel, and I'm sure you guys were busy with preparing and you were not able to watch, but we had a panel conversation about making ethical fashion with Cecile Schimmer from the Bali Curator, and 3 ladies from Kamana Travel Bags, who is making ethical leather, and Marina from Closed Loop Fashion. I'm not sure if you guys know her. And Zifa Jackson. Do you know Zifa Jackson, maybe? Is Zifa Jackson of one of your clients, Indra?
Yeah, not a Stitch Up, right? Zipa from not.
Yes, from not a Stitch Up. Yeah, so it was a very interesting conversation. And for people watching this stream, this video is already, you can rewatch it on YouTube. And it's actually really interesting also for you guys to to watch, because it's not very often that we have these top people together. I mean, also with the three of you, right? The three people here in Bali for natural dye. I mean, I don't think that you often have these conversations. So I would really recommend you to watch it. It's really great. And actually, it's already 10 to 12. What is the update on William?
I tried to WhatsApp him, but he hasn't replied. So he's not in this room anymore. I think he's trying to uh, fix his
Internet.
connection. Yeah,
All
I
right.
think he's
So
trying to.
I think maybe we can, who would like to continue, take over?
I think it's just like what we agreed earlier. So maybe I think it's Tarum can continue, can
All
start.
right. Okay.
Okay. So it's my turn now. Maybe I will starting with the video also. I will do the share screen first. Yeah, we're starting with to watch with this with video first.
CV Tarum Bali Sejahtera since 2001 has used environmentally friendly methods in fabric dyeing so that all processes can be carried out sustainably and responsibly. We have more than 1 hectare of garden that is used for planting several types of trees. We harvest their leaves and use them as the main ingredients in fabric dyeing. Using leaves from several types of trees as the main ingredients, we hope this could be a new innovation for textile industry in general and specifically for consumers. In order to be able to dye the fabric, it requires a different processing than the synthetic dyes. It also takes a longer time because the leaves must be processed first to get to expected color. It is to maintain the cultural values that have been inherited for many years, so it does not just disappear by the time. CV Tarum also tries to preserve the traditional woven fabrics which is still applied in fabric manufacturing. The woven fabric products get recognition both from domestic and foreign consumers. We hope to realize a production process that is environmentally friendly, integrated, sustainable, solid in creation, high value both in terms of processes and raw materials, and can be accepted by local and international market.
Yep. Okay, Yeah, I will move to my presentation. Yeah. So here I want to try to explaining what is Tarum first. Maybe we starting from who are we? We Tarum is a family business base who founded and owned by Mr. Made Arsanayase. He started this business since 2001 after he passed from his job. Before he was working as a professional for making for fabric making and supply around 89 until 98. That company using a lot of synthetic color and material and had get some much complaint for the villagers around that area because of the water pollution, and then getting impact to their farm and the river. He trying to do some research and about natural color process. He trying to travel to a few different places in Indonesia. Also, because of his background in university as an anthropologist, he want to trying to reach out, be kind of a natural dye in every place in Indonesia, because a few places there have a lot of different type of ingredient that they use to make the natural color. They going to Yogyakarta, Solo, also East Nusa Tenggara, to find out what kind of leaf they use, what kind of the plant they use it. And then after 3 years, he found it. The formula is just have to looking into the local plant that we have in Bali. So we decided to use a 5 basic plant that we already use now here. That was a ketapang, or usually you know as a moringa. We use also mahogany. We use mango, and then sapanwood, and also indigo vera. So from that 5 basic plant, we can make all of our color. And after that, we Pak Made deciding to open his first company here in Medahan village on Gianyar Regency. It was 2001. We are open for the first time and giving the natural dyeing service. And after a few years, our brand name changing become a Tarum Bali until now. So before we was our brand name was a Bali Natural, but now changing as a Tarum Bali. And then why we choosing natural dye as a main idea of the business, of our business? Because we really want to make all of our product more environmentally friendly method, and all the process can be carried out sustainability and responsibly. Because of that, of our founder background also, he working with a big factory of fabric making and supply, but with synthetic color, and see the impact of the village on their area. Uh, the river is turning, the color turning, the water river turning, and then it's also getting impact to the farming because of the waste pollution. We didn't want to make the product that have a process like that. So we trying to use as much as a, a friendly method, and then that's why we choosing with the natural dye. And now what we do here, it's 98 until 2001. That's the first time we made our facility here, and then open Tarum. On the first time, we only offering a natural dye service, only that, for mostly for fabric and yarn, and then we working with some brand, small until medium, because our quantity is not big enough before. We only serving the dyeing, and then our customer provide the material, so we only do the service. And then move to 2004, we starting to develop our hand weaving product. It's still using a machine called ATBM. It's a hand weaving machine we used to make out of our fabric. We made a scarf and accessories like sandal, necklace, and everything. Also moved to 2009, we started to make our interior product. The idea is using our waste of our waste fabric, because we have a lot of waste here also with fabric, and then we thinking to make a product that have value with this waste, and then we weave them. We weave that fabric, becoming a rug, runner, wall hanging, and everything for interior product, mostly for interior product. So until now, Tarum have a three type of product and service that we offer to our consumer. The first one is a dyeing service for material, fabric, yarn, and also we can dye a ready garment like a dress, a t-shirt, and everything. Also, a fabric making. We made our fabric, our own fabric, already coloring, white, natural, and all we do with the hand woven. Also accessories, and the third one is interior product, rug, runner, wall hanging, pillow, and everything. So this is the dyeing service. How we do our dyeing, it's all still doing by human, by our staff. Everything it's still with the hand, because that's what we gonna keep trying to use it. The touch, the feeling of human touching on our product, it's gonna be made the value higher. And also we do the traditional hand weaving like this. This is the kind of ways we trying to weave and then made into product. It's also our product kind of rug and fabric we have here. Yeah, before I talk about the kind of plant we use for color. So this is the we have a five type of plant we use here. The first one is mango leaf. Mango leaf we using for the yellow family. We made a mustard, a bright yellow, and everything big for yellow. We made it from the mango leaf. Also, when we made blue, green, and everything that using a yellow base, we using this kind of plant, mango. And then second one is ketapang leaf, or maybe you know there's some as a moringa leaf. This leaf can be used for black color, black, gray, and everything on that family. Also, they also we use it uh, for another color, like when we made the something on yellow or everything, we also can use it from the ketapang. Move to mahogany. Mahogany leaf we used to make for brown family, light, dark, and all the brown color we get from this plants, mahogany. This is indigo vera leaf for blue, and also sapanwood bark is for red. That's a five basic plant that we use for our color. And then we move to how we made our color. We especially this is the process after we usually every day we collecting our leaf from our plantation in Tampak Siring. Also, we have a few informant that usually working as a woodcutter professional and a sweeper for the government, because kind of our plants is growing near the street, and then they gave us information if they cut it mahogany or mango, and then we can go with our truck to collect them and then bring back to our facility. After that, we will be processed like on the picture. We separate them into their parts, and then because we only use the leaf, we will cutting into a small piece with the slicer machine. And then the next step, we have to boiling them for 9 until 8 hours. It will gonna be we will have it like a 500 liters for one truck that we get for the color. And then we still use the wood fire to make our color. It's to maintain the cultural values that have been inherited for many years. Also, the result when we use the wood fire, it's gonna be better than we use the gas, because the boiler it's really perfect, and then the plant is cooking well there. Also, we have a workshop class activity here, and yeah, is our founder, Pak Made Arsanayase. Maybe that's all from me, Rani. It's explaining a little bit about us here. Tarum, we can move into question if they have it.
Yes, thank you very much, Indra, for your presentation. It's really it's good to know because for me, this is my first time actually to know about Tarum Bali. So one thing that is very interesting is actually when you explain about that, the founder, Pak Made Arsana, before he was working in a fabric making factory, and the village around is actually complain because of the water
Yeah,
pollution made by
yeah.
by that factory. So now that you are making a natural dye, so I think community is important for Tarum. So maybe you can explain a bit how Tarum is doing, managing that, the community, the village, on in terms of your processes and everything. If you can explain a little bit about it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We we really respect about our community and then in our area also. We're trying to have a responsibility with our with what we do here. We have That's why we have also we manage a 20 until 25 women near this area to do our weaving, and then we have a local farmer local farmer that is not grow all of our plants, but they already have a farm, and then we just uh, teach them to grow up one or two plants near their farm to grow a kind of plant that we use here, and then after that we can we can take that to use as a color, and the value for them is uh, kind of this plant is because they grow it rice field. They didn't have to get the sun it's so much when they grow them. Well, I can't explain in English. That's why they have a few of plants to cover it the sun. But when it's already bigger or something else, we can go there to cut it. And also we do we trying to make uh, activity with this village also, uh, and giving impact with what we do here, but it's still on the planning, like mm, a different things of pelatihan, uh,
Training.
training, and then because in this village they have a lot of weaver, but they didn't know what to do, and some of them is still using a synthetic dye, and we're thinking to uh, train them maybe better to use kind of this color, and then the synthetic, maybe like that.
Okay, thank you. And I have to ask this due to the coronavirus. So how's your situation now? I mean, how is Tarum situation now? If you can explain a little bit about it.
Yeah, uh, it's a hard condition because here we have three type of product and service, uh, mostly for interior product. We working with hotel, villa, uh, and before we have two or three projects that we still working with them, but now they just postpone their production, and then we have to stop the process. Yeah, it's almost 15% lower than usually. Uh, mostly for interior product, we cannot get the, we can do the production and then the order also stop. But we still open for now, because with our dyeing service it's still working, and then we working with a small brand, small and small medium brand, and then also from a few different country. Like I already have an order from one of our customer in Korea, because their condition already stable there, and then they think that they will, they try to uh, do the production again and then do with us. Yeah, it's a 50% lower than usually, but it still survive. And the most important, we still have to pay our staff. Yes, that's why we have to run, and then do anything.
Okay, I think it's the challenge of what your challenges is. Definitely, a lot of businesses are facing the same challenges, and
Yeah,
hopefully, we can find a further solution on
yeah,
how we adapt with this situation. Thank you very much, Indra,
yeah.
for your
You're welcome.
presentation. And now I think we just continue with Novi from Cinta Bumi Artisan for the next presentation. Then after that, we can continue with William.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Rani. Thank you, Indra. That was a nice presentation. So I'm going to share a video first and then move to the slides after this. Okay. Can you see it?
Hi, my name is Novita. I am the founding artist of Cinta Bumi Artisans. Our studio in Ubud, Bali is a simple home with a little garden that grows vegetables, herbs, and dye plants. Natural dyeing is one of the 7 core steps of our craftsmanship process. Our dyes come from nature. Naluri Botanica is our signature plant dye textile articles. Naluri means instinct, plays an important role in the creative journey of a person, and we wanted to share this rite of passage to you through our wearable poetry. Naluri Botanica involves various surface design and natural dyeing processes that includes immersion dyeing, hand painting, and bundle dyeing or eco-printing, which is a contemporary method introduced and originally guided by alchemist India Flynn to the world. The inspiration of Cinta Bumi Artisans' designs is taken from essential details we have continued to find during travels in our day-to-day life. We are especially intrigued and empowered to create wearable poetry based on the interconnections between human and nature and the interconnection between human and herself. This has also inspired us to share our admiration and gratitude for the abundance of nature by providing a space to learn and grow with others through workshops and
I'm very sorry for all the technical problems that we are having. I'm not
Yes.
exactly sure what
I think
what it
Novi
is.
is disconnected at the moment because
Okay.
so maybe yeah, very sorry with these technicalities because yesterday we tried again all the videos and it was working very well.
But you tried on another time, right? I also have the feeling it has to do whether people are on lunch break.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
So if everybody, if people are on lunch break, then maybe all the office workers are using internet.
Yeah. Okay, so well, Novi is, I think, is disconnected at the moment. So maybe because it's already 2+19, so maybe we can give this opportunity for William to continue what you are explaining, and then I'll tell Novi that yes, he's restarting computer, so maybe I'll tell her.
I think, William, maybe instead of actually relying on your PowerPoint or video, maybe we can, you know, I'm sure that with all the experience that you have, you can just share with us what you actually want to share so we can make it a little bit more interactive, because I'm not sure if the yeah, well, what do you think? Would you like to still use your PowerPoint, or do you think we can have a conversation?
As long as you're hearing me, even
yes,
if
I'm hearing you very well.
If the PowerPoint isn't moving, then I can just you'll just hear me, and it's sort of like my notes for what to talk about.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'm not far from the end actually. So I was in the middle of talking about how we needed to source a soap that we could use. The soap we found is the most polluting part of our process, and of any of the natural dye processes I've looked at in other producers. The water coming out and going back into the environment is the single biggest source of pollution from any natural dye process. And so the soaps that you use are what go through all of that. And so, whoa, now I've lost you entirely, right?
No, it's okay. It's just the screen sharing that stopped.
Okay. So we make our own soap. We make it so that we know it's pH neutral. It has no superfatting. It has no color and perfume that's going to affect our dye results. And we source the oil from one of the weaving communities we work with in Timor. The picture that I was trying to show is where we taught them how to make cold pressed natural dye, soap in that way.
Is it made from soap nuts or something else?
No,
that's soapy?
It's made from candle nut.
Oh, okay. So that's also very, I don't know, I think soap nut grows here too, but I think candle nut is probably more widely available. Is that correct?
Yes, we're looking at what we can get from the communities we work with. And candle nut is one of the biggest small farmer products in Eastern Indonesia. So the biggest production is candle nut and tamarind. So we're also looking at how to use tamarind as our reducing agent to prepare our indigo fats.
Okay. Can I just ask, William, you sound very knowledgeable. I mean, almost scientific or like a scientist. Is that your background? Because you started, I was not watching very carefully, but not so long time ago. I mean, this is not the business that you have been all the time, right?
In 1998. So, no, my background is I'm a mathematician, but our work has involved us with several research projects. So we collaborate with ethnobotanists, botanists, taxonomists. We're currently involved in a big research project with the Australian government. And so to work with research, I had to learn the language and the methodology of this science. So yes, we do. We bring scientific methodology to what we're doing.
Yeah. So I really like that. I don't know whether that's actually possible for every business, but I think connection was also actually this morning a very important word that was used very often. Maybe that's actually really what you're trying to do, right? Really trying to stay connected as possible. So if you don't know something, try to make the connection yourself, as opposed to relying, or maybe or also there are also people who are saying, okay, we don't know, and then we just don't know. But I mean, it seems that you are very proactive, working with the communities and finding out, very inventive.
We're trying to connect traditional knowledge with scientific knowledge.
Yeah.
Without saying that the scientific knowledge is definitely and automatically better. Often traditional wisdom has come about, even when you might say this is a taboo or a superstition. Underneath it is some knowledge of how nature works. Yeah. And so we're looking to understand what that is so that we can support the parts of traditional knowledge that are sustainable and are respectful of the environment.
And can I ask, I mean, I guess a lot of that research is very groundbreaking, right? I mean, the connection with modern science and old traditions. I mean, it's not an area that is actually very much explored.
It actually is explored, but I think what we're trying to do that is groundbreaking is for it to be a conversation like this, not a conversation like this. Many of the researchers we go to the field with, it's very difficult for us to find someone who will treat traditional custodians with respect for the knowledge that they have.
Okay.
It's one of our biggest problems in recruiting field staff, is finding people who haven't been educated. Once you get to a degree or a secondary degree, there is almost, you're taught to look down on what was traditional. It's backward and primitive, like was said in the first video. So that's really one of the meeting these people with respect.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's difficult. I think, thank you very much, Indra and Novi, and also actually Rani. Of course, we are guests, of course, in this beautiful country, Indonesia, right? And so often, of course, and I'm probably also one of them, but many others do it maybe probably more. It's very patriarchal, or maybe even colonial, the way how we actually behave in this country. So I appreciate what you are saying. It's but I think it's how all of us are kind of conditioned, right? And then to make that smoother, it's difficult, but it's of course definitely worth it. So the research you are actually financing yourself, or is it mostly from the governments? Do you work with universities in Australia, or where do you work with?
Our current work is with Murdoch University in Australia. It's funded by the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research.
Okay.
Through ICRAF in Bogor, working with the government forestry research department. So it's all collaborative research.
Okay, good. Yeah. Thank you. Rani, do you have a question maybe for, is Novi, there's Novi again. I just asked a question. We are trying to have the conversation. We're just trying to have a flowing conversation because it seems we don't really have that much time, and we had so many problems with the techniques that we are just, how many time do we still have, Rani?
It's 2:20. Sorry, my time is not your time.
It's 27. Yes, it's 12:27.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good conversation that we just had with William. Novi, do you want to try it again, or do you think you are also comfortable with being your natural self? Yeah.
I think Novi is going to use a slide, maybe some slides.
I prepared a slide that specifically for today.
All right. Okay. Let's.
And then maybe I can explain a little bit, and then we try the video later.
Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Good luck.
I'll try to share the slides. Can you all see this? Sophie, can you see this?
I see the pictures, but not the slideshow.
Yeah, I see the pictures on the.
Maybe you're sharing the wrong screen.
Okay, what about this? Can you see it?
No, I still see your dashboard. So.
Okay, can you try again? I stopped your sharing. Maybe you can try again.
Okay. Okay, I'll try again.
These are just pictures that you're sharing, right?
There's also some writings on it. Can you see?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
So maybe you can enlarge it because we are now only seeing your Explorer.
Oh.
Yeah, we cannot see your slides.
All right.
Yeah, like here. Open. Yeah.
How about this?
Wait.
So this is the new way of operating. and I must say, honestly say,
it's not your picture is not showing up Nofi, so maybe I think maybe better to stop sharing.
No, but why doesn't it start? Because it's very easy to
it's true, but in my dashboard it doesn't come out, so
okay.
There's something wrong here.
Share.
So maybe you can explain by yourself maybe about what is Cinta Bumi and what you are doing. I guess that's
just the old-fashioned way, Novi. The old-fashioned way.
Anyway, okay. So first of all, my background was in ecotourism. So after about over a decade of working in community-based tourism, in 2013, while I was doing a research in Central Sulawesi, I met some barcloth artisans, barcloth made out of the tree barks, and in Central Sulawesi, mainly it's made out of the paper mulberries. So it's like one of the most ancient textiles or fibers, actually. And after that 2 years of research, and then I began to like slowly shift it and question myself, like, where am I going next? Like, because the tourism industry is really, it's with the massive tourism specifically, there was not really a future for me to see. And then I look back and I saw my own ancestors, like my maternal ancestors came from West Sumatra, and some of them were actually songket weavers. And from my father's side is batik artisans from East Java. But it was like the thread was cut because like my grandparents, my parents, they were all working in big cities, and I was born in Jakarta. And so I started to, during my time in Central Sulawesi, I started to explore more about these indigenous arts, and actually one of my first lessons, like real lessons about natural dyeing, is through their native plant dyeing. It's called the bola tree, but I don't know what's the Latin name for it. And also mud dyeing, because they did mud dyeing on barcloth pretty extensively. But also there were only less than 5 people who were still actually making barcloth, and only 2 people who were still having the knowledge and skills to dye the barcloth. So to talk about the bar cloth itself is a really long way to go, but the natural dyeing path was also attained as I was traveling from islands to islands. So I learned a little bit in Isumba, and then learned a little bit also in West Java, and of course in South Sulawesi in Toraja. And when I came back to Bali in 2015, I began to question myself if artisanal craftsmanship is actually my path. So I began to reconnect with Barclay artisans, and I asked them if they wanted to work together to collaborate, making something that are more contemporary or more modern, that are wearable for today's life, using the materials of barcloth. And one of the ways to make it more interesting for the youngs is actually by putting some colors, but we wanted it to be colors that derive from nature, from plants, from earth pigments, from mud. And so after some trial and error, and then apparently the audience, they received it really well. And so it started just flowing. That's for the barcode itself. But then I started to face another challenge, which is with the barcloth making process, you need to be very exact in terms of like harvesting season, and there are some other people who actually also work on barcloth, like designers and other artists. But with this thought, with the foundation of economy or financial, then the artisan started to just harvest it randomly and not really looking at the seasons. So we started to pause and reflect, and as we were reflecting about our barcloth work, started to work in the natural dye for other textiles and fibers. So that's where it began. And Threads of Life, actually, one of biggest inspirations for me. And when I started to learn about natural dyeing, I started to learn about the old world or traditional colors. But as William explained, that a lot of those, like for example, the Cosper thorn for the yellow dyes are taking a long time to how do you say, to grow and to be ready to harvest. And so our approach in the natural dyeing process is actually more like the local dye plants that you can also plant at home. So it's kind of like significantly different, because our approach is more like finding your local dye plants, grow your own dye garden at home, and some of the dye from discarded plants from your kitchen is actually also good in tannin, which is perfect to release some dyes like tannins and pigments. For example, like onion skins, avocado pits. Those are some of the plants that we use. Although there are some questions that came up when we talk about natural dyes. So people began to ask me, okay, so if it's the kitchen dyes or garden dyes, for example, from marigolds, are they color fast? Like how long they will stay? But the idea of Cinta Bumi Artisans is actually to introduce or to reconnect people to nature by growing also their own dye plants and also making their own wearable poetry. Because if everyone wants natural dye that comes from traditional or old world dyes without regrowing or without replanting, it's not possible at all to make a sustainable natural dye. So we always also one of our responses was also, what is it about lasting forever that came to our minds, like, because nothing really lasts forever, but what we can do is actually to explore, again, like William said, in the modern printing and in the preparation process, how to make the fibers and textiles bond really well with the plant dyes. So, for example, we don't have red dyes because, as far as I know, the morinda or the noni tree is like one of the best red, and we don't have those trees, and we want to plant it, but we have started to plant some Cisalpina sapan or sapan wood in our dye garden. For the yellow, we use the jackfruit bark, mango leaves, and mix it with marigold to make it more orange. And then for the blue, we also use indigo from Central Java. There's where my husband came from. His village has this initiative called Pintori. So they're one of our suppliers, and we also got some seedlings of indigo to plant it here. I think it's just playing with the plant colors, and also more denting process. The key for me is two core keys for people who wants to learn natural dyeing, starting at home. It's actually, there are two keys: patience and acceptance, because it's not too difficult in terms of like making your own clothes. It's not as difficult as if you want to commercially sell it. If it's only for your clothes, for your families, or to gift it to somebody that you care, you can start with those two keys, because, like, for example, our textiles and fibers usually are scoured or washed, like a pre-treatment process using lerak or by soap nut. And after that, we mordant it with Simplacos, and we wait until a week or two before finally we dye with plants. That helps the fibers and the mordant to bond really well before they're getting ready to get plant colors. And then, so after practice, like about 4 or 5 years, and then I started to think about the way to share it with other people who wants to dye their own clothes using dye plants that are available or accessible in their own home or neighborhood. So we started to uh, make some framework of workshops that can inspire or engage people to rethink about growing your own plants, not only dye plants but also your own food. And Sophie, thank you. You also joined one of our workshops. It's called Poetry Cloth. So it's for 2 days. Actually, people gather together and learning the process, the step-by-step process from how to treat your fabrics until you dye it, and how to maintain your natural dyed cloth so that they become color fast. And other than that, for now, because this is the context now is how we do what we do in the time of challenging in this challenging time is because it's not possible to run a workshop, an in-person workshop, so we bring that ideas, we bring that that whole practice to you, like, for example, from home dyer's kit, and we are now working on another kit which is like more like mixed media kits, where people have some of our eco-printed and naturally dyed fabrics, some papers, just basically to craft something that they want to be during the stay-at-home time. And right now, we also collaborated with the Bali curator, Cecile, who actually became the moderator at the session before us today, this morning. And we collaborated in making some natural dye face masks. It's a 3-layered, and the ideas came up because Cecile and I were like talking about how it is needed right now, but it's also we have to think about what happened next after all this finish. Like, because if you make it from the materials that are non-compostable, non-biodegradable, and it's not really good. If our society is still becoming a throwaway society, like, or in Indonesia we call it sekali pakai buang. So we thought about making what many people need it right now, but using more like gentle materials, and it's also derived from plants, and it's also more dented with plants, starred with plants. So we believe that there is no harmful inside it. So I actually forgot what many of things that on my slides. So I hope that's okay.
Oh, no, you did it very well. I just want to ask from consumer point of view, Rani, if I may, is of course, I think, so we are having this event in the Fast Revolution Week, right? No, not in the in the Fashion Revolution Week. And what is it that you want to change in the fashion industry, and yeah, and how are you personally, or maybe from your business, helping with that, with the change with the consumers, and maybe also from businesses? Maybe I can ask that question to Indra. Do you understand what I'm asking, Indra? Could you maybe I would like to actually hear the 3 perspectives, because it's you guys are of course doing super good, right, in a very niche industry. So yeah, again, what is your perspective on the fashion revolution, and what is your point of view there?
Okay. From our perspectives, my personal perspectives, and also our perspective as a small enterprise, is not actually changing the world by changing other people, but just start small. Again, maybe you get in, perhaps you're bored with these words, but grow your plants, grow your garden, and then and also start from your home. You can, like, for example, our concern is when we talk about ethical, sustainable fashion, like, there is a big question inside my head too. When we talk about how much is enough, is actually subjective. Like, a lot of people thought that Cinta Bumi Artisans is a big studio, and we have a lot of employees. It's not. In fact, there's only 3 of us in the studio, but we also work hand in hand with, like, for example, neighboring seamsters in Sayan and Kedewatan, who currently are struggling with their jobs, and also with some other artisans in Central Sulawesi, and some other makers, like making the coconut shells, buttons, and just very small batch. And when we talk about small batch, it's a real small batch, because our production, for example, in monthly basis, is not more than like 20 meters of fabric actually, and also because our dye garden is still really small, we also wait until the plants are ready. So I think with the Fashion Revolution Week, it's also important, other than asking who made my clothes, it's also important. I have to quote it again, the Bali curator. They talked about this yesterday, that other than who made my clothes, you should ask also under what conditions, and how are those clothes are made, and where is the waste actually growing. So yeah.
Thank you, Novi, because I think what you are trying to do is really try to create a personal connection. You are trying to create a personal connection with people, and you try to inspire them one by one, actually, right? One by one with their home dyes kits and through the workshops. And then I think from there, you kind of hope that their behavior changes, right? So maybe William, would you like to respond to my question?
In terms of the fashion revolution, I think a key that's connected to what we're looking to do, it's about chain of custody. So one way to talk about accountability and transparency is to be able to show where everything came from, who made it. And so in terms of a conversation about natural dyes, that's being transparent about those processes and being able to document in a way that a brand can actually buy from you and use that information through on their marketing as well. We have an upcoming generation of buyers who people in the industry are telling me are going to be incredibly critical of how we make things. They hold these values. They want to buy good things that last a long time, but they want to know exactly how they were made, where they were made, what materials went into them. And this is both a great challenge for us as makers, if we have the skill set and the network of connections to be able to show what we made and how it was made. So that's what I think for us, this fashion revolution is about building these documentation that we can share with people.
Yeah, I think, yes, I really like, William, what you guys, what you are doing, Threads of Life. I mean, there's so much information, right? I mean, nothing is simple. I mean, there's just so much. I mean, people buy something and it's blue or it's red, and there is no thought about how that comes about, right? It's I think throughout the years we have just been I mean, I would say we have been cutting corners in our head, right? We have skipping steps. We don't need to. We have some point in time we have decided to not know anymore, and I think it definitely, hopefully, it will really come back, connecting with the nature, but also really trying to learn again, right? And try to find out the origin of the certain things and how things are being made. Yes.
One of the films that sort of got this whole fashion revolution thing going was the film called The True Cost. And what that really means now is we have to educate people to understand what true cost means. If you want natural dyes and you want it done in a sustainable, responsible, slow fashion way, you're going to have to pay more money for it. So when people are going to want, if we're going to ask people to pay more money, we've got to be accountable and show them why it has to cost that much more.
And Indra, what is your perspective? Thank you very much, William.
Thank you, Sophie. I think I really agree with William, what he said about the accountability and transparency, because that's the key of what we do here. If we cannot accountable, I think it's hard to survive in this kind of business. And then I really want also want to share to our consumer, it's about the process, and then appreciate it, because until we can produce something here, it's gonna be take a long time, and then the process, it's gonna be hard, and then and at the end, the result, it's gonna be more valuable if the consumer can be appreciated the process. That's why when we attend a consumer here, we will showing all the process here, from the first we made our color, and then until we can finishing our product, become they can use it, or they can process it more. Maybe like that.
Yeah. I think it's not enough for me as a consumer, nor from a manufacturer, to just assume it's natural dye. That's just a label, but you have to really, you all doing that, right? You are all educating people about what is natural dye, what is the process, how much time it is, and why is it actually more expensive than chemical dyes, right? I also, I mean, because I really think it has been just so easy. You know, you buy something, or people buy something, then if they buy it from you, Indra, then they say, okay, this is natural dye, but maybe a lot of them don't even know what the whole process is about, right? But people are becoming more critical. I think people in the industry and also consumers are becoming more critical. So really, we are nearing the end of this session. I really want to thank you three for taking up this challenge. I really see, because I think you guys are really very confident in what you do, and I'm very happy of your willingness to share. But today we did not really had the technology, we had it a bit against us. But I hope that it doesn't stop you of doing what you do, and maybe just try this another time, right? Because actually spreading the word is really important, what you do. And we don't know how long this is going to last. So just keep on learning, just actually exactly the same way as Sophie, as Rani and I are doing. This is our first time, and this winging it, like if technology doesn't work, I mean, that is also something that we have to learn. But I think it has been a really great experience. So thank you so much, and have a great day. And I hope you will watch our next panel, or there are some other panels going on for the viewers that are still put despite the technical mishaps today. If you like to, if you like what we are doing here at Bali Slow Fashion, then please support us. You can support us by clicking through the link that is in the video description. And all the proceeds are equally divided to Fashion Revolution in the UK, and the charity was actually trying really to increase the awareness about the issues in the fashion industry. And the other part will go to Kopernik, who is, and specifically more to the emergency response for the COVID, because we all know that in Indonesia, a lot of people are actually affected. And a lot of people, especially in Bali, have really lost their jobs. And yeah, I see the people are really scrambling to get by. So thank you all for that, to help us. And we'll see each other in the near future with one of our events, or me in your events. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rani.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you very much, William, Indra, and Novi. See you again.